I remember in 2007 when my dad decided to buy a new game. Nothing out of the ordinary, Dad has always been a gamer, he was before I was born, and he will be next week. I played a lot of games too. I even have memories of playing some Monster Fighter type game that came out on an official Xbox magazine demo disc. I wasn't even able to get past the main menu because I was hindered by not possessing the ability to read. Yes, I have been playing video games for that long. Now, I'm sure there's a yeah, that was you last week, mate type joke in there, but I digress. During the evenings after school, I would often watch my dad play games on his Xbox 360. I only had the hand-me-down original Xbox at this point, so watching my dad playing next gen was something of a marvel to me. As I was saying, I remember one day my dad came home from work with a new game. I've got a new game, son. It's got, I don't know why I'm doing a northern accent. My dad's not even northern, mate. It started out like any other evening. Dad would boot up the game after dinner and I would watch him play for a bit. Maybe, if I was lucky, I might even get to have a go. Not 1 minute into pressing start, my jaw drops. The story progressing in front of me is unlike anything I've ever experienced before. I feel compelled to unravel its mystery. My dad finally says it's my turn to play once we can roam freely around Masyaf. I can climb any building. I can dive into, hey, this game is unlike anything I've ever laid eyes on, let alone played. And do you know why that is? It's because there was nothing like this game. I instantly fell in love with the ominous and mysterious nature of the story, the multicultural and diverse array of characters, the decadent world that filled me with a sense of beauty running parallel with an overbearing feeling of desolation. This was a game that, unbeknown to me at the time, would have one of the most profound influences on my life. From a thirst for knowledge, an enthusiasm in history, to my taste in art and love for storytelling. This game was called Assassin's Creed. The first Assassin's Creed is a thought-provoking game that compels and rewards the player to do just that. You are thrown right in the middle of an ever-progressing story, conflict on both sides of time. Although the world the game portrays is that of an uncanny, totalitarian presence, the characters you play as are somewhat of a comfort, being that they are just as ignorant to the truth as you, the player. And as the true nature of the game's world, story, and characters are revealed, the knowledge gained is parallel between the two main protagonists and yourself. On one side of time, we experience the story of Desmond, a young man indoctrinated into the Assassin Brotherhood from birth by his parents, also assassins. Prior to the game, in 2003 at 16 years old, Desmond is tired of living the way of the Brotherhood, cut off from the rest of the world. He fled from the farm in which the Brotherhood was situated in South Dakota and made a new life for himself in New York City, working as a barman at the Bad Weather nightclub. It wasn't until 2012 that Abstergo, a supposed pharmaceuticals company, captured Desmond and held him at an undisclosed location. For what purpose? We will soon find out. On another side of time, we experience the story of Altair ibn Lahad, a young and initially naive assassin, born in the year 1176 and a member of the Levantine Assassin Brotherhood. Despite Altair's arrogance and ignorance towards the tenets of the creed, he became a master assassin at 25, a feat unheard of at this time. Back to present day. One thing I love about Assassin's Creed is that it never states once that Desmond's story takes place in the future. The game was released in 2007, and we later find out in following installments of the series that the modern day events of AC1 through 3 take place in 2012. So at the time of release, people were unknowingly playing through the past and the future. Conversations Desmond has with Warren Vidic and Lucy Stillman, his captors, as well as multiple emails you can find and read throughout the game subtly hint towards this being a future timeline, but it isn't confirmed until later games. Desmond is being held captive because his DNA holds the memories of his ancestors. Well, not only Desmond, every human's DNA contains its ancestors' memories, but one of Desmond's ancestors, Altair, came into contact with an artifact containing knowledge that Abstergo desperately need. Abstergo have developed a device that is capable of extracting memories from the DNA of a person and can then create a simulation based on them. This is known as the Animus. You might be starting to catch on to the fact that Abstergo are not all they seem. They are in fact the Templars. The pharma company Abstergo is purely a guise to cover the Templars' true actions and intent, as well as to garner revenue to aid their cause.
Order, Mr. Miles. The world needs order. That is what we're working towards, and that is what you're helping us to achieve.
You expect me to believe you're building a better tomorrow?
That's exactly what we're doing. The human race calls out for direction. They want to know why they're here, what they're meant to do. Well, we're going to tell them. And once they understand how to live their lives, everything will be better.
The artifacts the Templars seek is a Piece of Eden, containing a map to multiple more mysterious artifacts scattered across the world. The Pieces of Eden were items of immense power constructed by the ones who came before. Now, the series as a whole goes into great depth on who the ones who came before were, but because this game only mentions them in passing, leaving more questions than answers, I will also leave their description for another time. You can access an email late in game which contains descriptions of the different items created by the ones who came before that Abstergo currently have in their possession, a time manipulating Piece of Eden being a notable example. These emails you can find throughout the game are completely missable if you don't decide to look for them. Another thing I absolutely love about Assassin's Creed, there are so many minute details within the game that you can find, but you're not forced to. They're not presented to you on a plate. Just like the mystery Altair and Desmond try to unravel, you have the choice of unraveling more mysteries for yourself. The Templars' goal has always been world peace, from the time of the Crusades up until present day. Whilst being a noble cause, the means at which they aim for peace is not. They believe if they are able to launch a satellite containing the Piece of Eden, they can enslave the minds of all living things on Earth, eliminating free will but instilling a one-world peace. Each of Altair's targets show the nature of the Templars in different aspects: fear and power, evil acts for a so-called just cause, and anti-free speech views, to name a few. I now want to talk about the goals of the Assassins through the lens of the past. Although the cause and belief remain the same throughout time, it's about time we get into the Animus, so yeah. The Assassins also believe in world peace, but understands that each man and woman have the right to decide this for themselves. They fight to protect the world from injustice, the abuse of power, and dictatorship. I'm sure by now you're starting to see the reason the Templars and Assassins have had an age-old war, and why it goes on to this day.
What is the truth?
We place faith in ourselves. We see the world the way it really is, and hope that one day all mankind might see the same.
What is the world, then?
An illusion. One which we can either submit to, as most do, or transcend.
What is it to transcend?
To recognize nothing is true and everything is permitted. That laws arise not from divinity but reason. I understand now that our creed does not command us to be free. It commands us to be wise.
Upon assassinating a key Templar target, Altair and the dying individual discuss, almost debate even, their beliefs, motives, and what they see as the truth. Each target puts into place another piece of the puzzle, while simultaneously revealing another 5 to 10, maybe more empty spaces needing filling. More questions. What drove me forwards through the game wasn't to gain cool gear, to level up and get stronger, but to get answers to my many questions, just the same as Altair and Desmond. I found myself debating what it truly means to possess free will and how it can coexist with peace throughout my day when I wasn't even playing the game. And I feel that this is what made Assassin's Creed so strong. The game was built hand in hand with the writing. The story of Assassin's Creed uses philosophy and mystery to its advantage, each using one another as a stepping stone for progression. Mystery usually boasts a desire for knowledge, as does the philosophical nature of said mystery. As Altair learns more of the world and the Templars' view on it, his own opinions and outlook of the world change. What was once a brash, cocky child evolves into a wise, understanding and cautious individual that would do anything, even give his life if it meant upholding the tenets of the creed and keeping the world from falling apart. Now, this video isn't aiming to tell the entire story, as my goal is to encourage anyone who hasn't played the game to pick it up. And for those of you like me that have played it many times, I don't want to bore you with an entire recap. Assassin's Creed is an incredibly nuanced game. When outside of the Animus, the game makes use of uncanny camera angles that give an overbearing feeling of observation in order to further present the idea that the Templars are this all-seeing eye, this big brother behind the scenes. The cityscape beyond the room's windows are overexposed to once again add to the dystopian vibe. And the room in which you are held is tall and menacing in order to elicit a totalitarian feeling within the player. Going back to uncanny camera angles, the same angles are presented when speaking to Al-Mualim at Masyaf to remind the players that they are an observer of the past. When interrogating a key Templar target, the Animus presents them pacing back and forth and looking directly into the camera as they speak in order to address Desmond, Abstergo, and the player. One of my favourite lines is during a conversation with Desmond and Vidic.
Gotta say, that's a little creepy, Doc. Waking up to you standing over me. You been watching me sleep?
We're always watching you. Now get up. We've got a lot of work to do.
Again, it's these subtle nuances in the writing that I love. Each city within the world visually represents the oppression of the Templars in the many ways that they do just that. Arca is a deprived, run-down, depressing location. Its bleak, decaying nature reflects that of the spread of decay that your targets leave in their path. Arca's cold, bluish colour palettes filter amplifies the feeling of death, and I would even go as far as to say the loss of the senses, something the Templars seek for the masses. Jerusalem is the representation of the Templars' wealth and influence throughout the Holy Land. The warm colour filter while exploring the gold-laden rooftops of this immense city are a reminder that your enemies have deep pockets and major political influence. Damascus is more of a middle ground between the other cities, but I think it accurately shows the true magnitude of the Templars' military force and their abuse of it across the land. What should be a beautiful city full of life, love, and happiness is instead rampant with fear, murder, and injustice, all provided by the city guard. I couldn't in clear conscience make a video like this without talking about the music of Assassin's Creed. Just listen to the song that plays when you first enter Jerusalem. Or the sound of Masyaf. The soundtrack by legendary composer Jesper Kyd accurately amplifies the world around you and immerses you into the culture, people, its story. Whilst in pursuit of guards, the music adds to the thrill of the chase. The sudden and abrupt inclusion of sharp and threatening sounds gives an uncertain sense that anything could go wrong during the chase or fight. A dangerous sound to fit a dangerous scenario. When walking through the city markets or taking the scenic route through the kingdom, your ears and eyes work in tandem to create a real, lived-in world. Less is more with Assassin's Creed, be it gameplay or story. Every action you take is a step to better understand the truth, and at the end of the day, isn't life the same? Everything we do for future gain, whether it's wealth, success, knowledge, or personal well-being. Everything we do has a reason, or at least that's what we tell ourselves. At least it's what we believe. Assassin's Creed taught me to question everything, to never blindly follow or to pull the wool over my eyes. Assassin's Creed taught me that nothing is true and everything is permitted.